What I did, the hydraulic lines I had did end up being about 5/8 inch, and I do think my brother's right. That's gonna be stronger, and the barrel's kind of flimsy once you chop it down. So I think by running the two axles all the way through and welding, it's gonna give it a little bit more, a little bit more rigid. So I had this flat stock on another project I'm working on. I borrowed and clamped it to bring the table up so I could have something, a line to go off of, and I just held the tires up to that because I wanted, like I said, I wanted the tires to be about 2 inches past this, because if I I was originally thinking about putting the tires kind of flush to be a small square, but the closer you put those axles together, especially with having a handle that's going to go up 3.5 feet, I didn't want it to where if you pulled on it too hard or something that it would tip up easy. One of those axles a little bit further apart to keep it a little bit harder to flip over, but I didn't want them sticking too far behind it. So I carried that up. I measured my 2 inch off on the barrel, held my tires, and I kind of had my square off the table, off the bearings, and marked the top, and I had my level as a straight edge, and I did my marks, and I think I transferred them down with I just had a little nothing too fancy. I just leveled down with this guy, and then put my 4-foot level across again, and set over 5/8 of an inch. I didn't go to 3/4 because I want that pretty tight. I don't want that weld to leak. And I learned a long time ago that the better the tolerances are on the pieces, the better your welds are going to be. I just thought I could file it if it's too small or whatnot. But anyways, I transferred those down, put a 5/8 bolt through the tire to get a height off of what I wanted it to sit at, which I have some 2x under here to give it about the height I wanted. And the hydraulic tubing worked out great that I had off that old project. When I drilled through, I drilled it square with the surface, but then I just twisted after I got it to 5/8 inch, I just twisted the bit kind of in line the way the axle was going to go, and it was snug. It worked out perfect. I just took my rubber mallet and tapped it through. Gave myself about 7/8 inch past. I think I'm going to put for my spacing back here, I wanted about a 1/2 inch spacing up here, so debris, if sand or small rocks that carried up from the tire might not get jammed. I'm just going to put a 5/8 washer on the back of the wheel, tack weld it, and then do a slit washer on the front, and then I'm just going to put a cotter pin through like I said. I didn't lay the other side out because I thought it'd be easier to get this through, and then when I flip it around, I'm going to leave this set up, and then I have something to measure off of to try to keep all the wheels in line, which I can actually go ahead and do that now. One of these days I need to clean this place up so I can actually work. Seeing this thing starting to come together, I'm starting to get excited. I'm tired of dealing with that other toad I have. It's going to be really nice to have wheels on this. I should flip this back around and say that my T, by the time I chop it down, chop half that nipple off to keep it close, is going to end up being about flush with the edge of the tires, which isn't a big deal, but that way it's not really sticking out. If it hits something, it's more than likely like a wall or something going to hit the tires before I have any damage to the valve. And you don't want the tires sticking out too much, because without putting a more fittings on there. I want to be able to hook those couplings up without having an issue of hitting the tire. But I'm going to do that after I get the axles taken care of. I'm trying to get all my holes drilled so when I get the welder out I can weld more than a couple items at a time. I hate kind of getting the welder out for one weld and then you got to go back to cutting pieces. So I guess I'm going to do my 2-inch offset here off my plate and measure off the rear axle parallel to my table and do the same. Excuse me. Do the same up here, and then I'll probably lay out my figure out where I want my drain and the coupling piece there on the back, and that way when I turn the welder on, should be able to weld the axles and that guy back there all at the same time, and then I can figure out how I want to do my handle pivot.